Welcome back to FryMinis. I'm Eric, and today in our Monsters of the Multiverse coverage, we are talking Githyanki. Okay, two quick things. One, can we make a little round of applause? We've made it through the Genasi, which, yay. And two, Githyanki, come on. Little space elves, little no-nose kind of yellow space people. I think they're cool. I like them a lot. And I'll be honest, whenever I'm planning out a character that doesn't have medium armor proficiency, there's at least some iteration of that. I could do Githyanki and get medium armor. And then once Tasha's came out and we can move our stats or our abilities around, and then we can switch out those weapon proficiencies for more tool proficiencies. And I was like, oh, spiral. But I've never actually done that. I've never actually played out a Githyanki for that medium armor. And if you want to do that, or just like if you want to take the mountain dwarf or whatever to get it, like, okay, I don't blame you. It's a really mechanically great option. But I like to build my character and then start looking at mechanics. So if it makes sense for them to get Githyanki, okay. And in fact, I just started playing in a campaign where I'm going to play a ranger, and I'm going to play a subclass that's available at FryMinis.com/shop. You can download it for $1.99. If you were a patron, you would have gotten it for free last month. $5 a month. You get all sorts of cool stuff. And so it's like moon and radiant and kind of space themed. And I was like, oh, it makes sense for a Githyanki. Like that's cool. But ultimately, I wanted to lean more on the radiant than the space. So I ended up going Crystal Gem Dragonborn. I guess the point of that story is that in the past, it was really easy to pick Githyanki for mechanical stuff, not looking at the lore of them. You know what though? I have done this with Githyanki. The first time I played through Baldur's Gate 3 with the early access, I played a wizard, Githyanki, so I could get that armor. But that's a little different to me, playing the video game versus playing the actual game of D&D. Okay, so far, all the videos we've looked at here for the Monsters of the Multiverse races, the races are either unchanged or just like micro tweaked or buffed, like just clearly better. This, I think, is going to be our first example really of, to my perception, a reduced in power level, in potential power level race. I think if you're playing a martial Githyanki, I think you're going to be a lot happier because you're not going to have that overlap. But if you're playing a Githyanki to get what Githyanki used to give you, you might not be super happy. So first, Githyanki lore. Once members of a people who escaped servitude to mind flayers, Githyanki split from their cousins, Githzerai, and fled to the astral plane. In that timeless, silvery realm, Githyanki honed their psionic powers and built a great city called Tunarath. They have since spread throughout the multiverse, starting in outposts outside the astral sea called creches, where time passes and their children can reach adulthood. A lanky people with skin tones of yellows, greens, and browns, Githyanki complement their physical prowess with psionic might, instilled in them by mind flayers and cultivated over eons in the astral plane. Now all Githyanki can use their psychic bond with that plane to access splinters of knowledge left behind by beings who travel, live, and die among the silver astral clouds. Githyanki who reside in the astral plane can live indefinitely. Okay, I say Githyanki. I often hear Githyanki, and that's okay. I don't have a big deal, but I'm going to say Githyanki. So this is a really good example of that like stripped down lore for you to be able to plug and plop this into any world, any realm, any kind of anything. It's just like a little package that you just pop in. Because I mean, we're not talking at all of like where do they get the red dragons? We don't talk about Tiamat in here. Like that's okay. I just think that's a really cool kind of lore bit of where they're getting their dragons. They're basically on loan from Tiamat, if you don't know. From Tiamat, yeah, the big scary queen of dragons. Yeah. And and like, okay, if we're like pushing that all off to the side, why are we using a picture of a Githyanki riding a red dragon with that obvious lore like connection there? It's not the end of the world. It's just it's another example of where I think, and again, I'm okay with this little package of lore, but don't keep referring to stuff outside of that packet of lore. Okay, so just like everybody else in this book, you speak common in one other language. You are about the size generally of a human. You can do +2 and +1 or 3 +1s to different attributes. All the normal stuff here. Githyanki that live in the astral plane can live forever. And if you aren't in the astral plane, I guess you get 100 years like everybody else. All right, y'all, the Githyanki traits. You are a medium humanoid with a walking speed of 30 feet. Okay, no surprise there. But up next, buckle up. Astral knowledge. You can mystically access a reservoir of experiences of entities connected to the astral plane. Whenever you finish a long rest, you gain proficiency in one skill of your choice and with one weapon or tool of your choice selected from the player's handbook as you momentarily project your consciousness into the astral plane. These proficiencies last until the end of your next long rest. Okay, so this one's a little rough, right? So before we got a language and a skill and light armor and medium armor and short sword, long sword, and great sword proficiency. So that's obviously a lot. And with Tasha's, you can swap out those with other versions. So if you got a like that great sword, if you wanted the rapier proficiency, you could swap that out. Or if you already had armor proficiencies, you could swap those out to get a tool proficiency. And that ends up with a lot of proficiencies, especially if you already have the initial ones. However, we're going from all that down to down to one skill and one tool or weapon. Yikes, right? So this still kind of works out if you want to be like a cleric, dex-based cleric that isn't getting martial weapons, and you want to be able to use a rapier to really max out your weapon die. like that gets you up there. If you want to be a rogue and you're not getting a longbow proficiency from something else, you can pick it up here, and that's cool. But then you're forever locked out of picking up a tool proficiency, which if you don't have tool proficiencies, like that's not super great. This was a hard reduction. I think it's shockingly reduced. At the very least, I think we should be able to like keep that extra language, as a little makeup. So you get a skill, a tool, a language, and honestly, even throw in a weapon. So you've got one of each, and you can swap each one of those out on long rest. I think that versatility across the board would be really neat. But as it is, yikes. But it's not all bad. We have some really cool stuff here. Githyanki Psionics. You know the Mage Hand cantrip, and the hand is invisible when you cast the cantrip with this trait. Starting at 3rd level, you can cast the Jump spell with this trait, and starting at 5th level, you can also cast the Misty Step spell with this. Once you cast Jump or Misty Step with it, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. You can use spell slots for it, and you can pick Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma as your spellcasting ability. And special note, none of these spells require spell components when you cast them with this trait. Okay, so this is the opposite. This is a straight buff. So again, we don't need components, so it just happens, so there's no counterspelling it or whatever, which is neat. But really, our benefit here is that we're gaining the ability to use spell slots, which is cool. If you want to jump, that's great. But really, what you're gonna like here is Misty Step. Putting like Misty Step on a ranger or on a paladin, like we have like really cool opportunity with something like that. Obviously, Misty Step's good for every single person. So this isn't a massive increase in power, and I don't think it makes up for what happened to all of our proficiencies. But this is great. This keeps us in line with all the other updates. And we also have psychic resilience. You have resistance to psychic damage. Whenever there's something that gives psychic resistance, the very first thing that comes up is, oh, bear totem barbarian. And just watch these comments on this video. It's going to be the first thing somebody says. And thematically, I think that makes a lot of sense with the race. I think that's completely in line with the whole kind of psionic mental kind of thing we're going for here. So I guess ultimately with Githyanki, it's okay. You know, it hasn't been completely destroyed. I do think the cutbacks we had here were not super necessary. And I get that we're trying to remove particular kind of proficiencies from being based on your race. And ultimately, I don't have a problem with that philosophy. I don't think we have been properly compensated here by getting that psychic resistance. I just don't think that balances out all those proficiencies. All right, so I think Githyanki's still a really solid option. I don't think it's going to blow anybody away. I don't think anybody's going to be just devastated by its new like structure. I think it's going to ultimately be yeah, okay kind of option. So what do you think? Githyanki? Destroyed, psychically damaged, or psionically boosted? Let me know. Thanks for watching. Check us out, FryMinis.com. And up next, Githyanki.